Today I'll be reacting to the best setups posted in the Battlestations subreddit. And since 2022 is finally over, I'm really curious to see what were some of the best setups that were posted on there. Let's begin. Take your battle station to the next level with the Corsair Xenon Flex, the world's first bendable OLED gaming monitor. With a blazing fast 240Hz refresh rate and a 0.03 millisecond response time on a massive 45-inch OLED display, you can take your gaming and productivity to the next level. Do you prefer to game on a curved display? No problem, just grab the handles and bend the monitor. You have complete control on the curvature of the monitor. The OLED panel provides the best colors with deep blacks and exceptional viewing angles, perfect for watching content and creating content. The Xenon Flex is the ultimate monitor that does it all. To learn more, click the link below. So we're gonna start right at the 5,000 votes mark because the list just goes on forever until the lower numbers. And I feel like if your setup gets at least 5,000 votes on this subreddit, then it's worthy enough to get featured. So starting off, we have a setup straight out of a toolbox. This one's got creativity, I like that. He mounted the monitor and the speakers against the toolbox, but it doesn't look like it's functional, unfortunately. He's not able to close the lid because the speakers are not mounted on the actual lid portion. So if you were to close it, it will hit the speakers. The mouse is also in a very uncomfortable spot. You have to like dig in your hand to use it. I mean, +1 for the Pokemon stickers and creativity, but you threw functionality out of the window with this design. This guy gets it in the comment section. Buy a trackball mouse so you don't have to do Kama Sutra positions with your wrist. I feel like it could have been executed better. 4 out of 10 for me. All right, this next one is from Philip Kovas. This one got 5,000 votes as well. And already I'm not liking the monitor layout. You know, if you're going with dual ultra-wides, it's never a good idea to put them side by side. That's a big no-no. Not only do you have the bezels right smack in the center, but there is just too much horizontal screen real estate. You always want to stack ultra-wides to optimize your field of view. Not to mention, this dude isn't even using a mouse pad. I'm shocked that this setup even has 5,000 votes. I'm starting to question people's taste in setups on Reddit. It's a clean setup, but it's far from efficient. Once again, I do agree with the top comment here. Staring at the bezel smack dab in the center makes me sad. Have you thought about having one centered and the other off to the side? Even that layout is a lot better than how he has it now. I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10 though. Okay, this one looks pretty badass. It looks like a pretty decked out racing sim setup. Actually, no, it's a flying sim setup based on the controllers and the joystick, but where the hell are the monitors? Oh, it's a VR setup. That's actually pretty cool. But what's the point of the actual physical controls if it's VR? Is it just for aesthetics? Or can you actually press them in real life while using the VR headset? Maybe someone who's experienced in these types of setups can let me know in the comment section. This is actually pretty cool. I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. Hey, fancy seeing you here, my guy. I mean, I shouldn't even be surprised to find a few seal of approval winners on the subreddit. I mean, I've already said what I needed to say about Jalen's setup in episode 316. I'm just surprised at how low the votes are. This setup definitely deserved more than 5,000 upvotes. I would say at least 7K, maybe even the 10K mark. Okay, what in the CIA is going on here? What is that monitor layout? Jeez. Look, I've seen a few Hexa monitor setups in my lifetime, but this one definitely takes the cake. It's like a scene from the Matrix movies. You know that scene where Neo is talking to the architect? I'm getting those vibes from this setup. He's either a stock trader or he works with NASA from home. Like, this is a work from home NASA setup. There's no other explanation. Look, he's even got 2 chairs, one for him and the other for the astronomer, I'm guessing. From a functional standpoint, I don't see how either of the 3 monitors on the top are a good idea. This dude is definitely getting a good neck workout. At least make the outer monitors angled a bit. Oh, maybe that's why he has 2 chairs. He literally switches chairs to get from one side of the desk to the other. That actually makes more sense. This guy's about to hack into Gotham City. I can see it. I can see it. This is a 6 out of 10 for me. The fact that this setup has 5.2K votes is beyond me. I feel more bad about the dog in this picture than the person who owns this setup. I get that you're in a budget and this is all you can afford, but dude, put some love and care into your workspace. The least you can do is wipe the dust off your speakers and the MIDI keyboard. I think the dog's reaction pretty much sums up how I feel about this setup. I really hope the dog is getting treated better than your workspace, my guy. That's a shame. This is a 2 out of 10 for me. See, this is how you do an ultra-wide setup. You stack them to optimize field of view. I don't know how on Neptune's 7th moon this setup got 5.2k votes, but I'm not surprised anymore, to be honest. 5 out of 10. If my grandma had a passion in setups, this is literally what her setup would look like. She loves knitting random stuff all the time, and she loves plants. I mean, this setup embodies her spirit. I can see how this one got 5.2k votes. It's a straight up vibe. It's so different and unique to what we normally see, and for that, I applaud this person. Do what you have to do until you want to do what you want to do. I think I just had a brain aneurysm. There had to have been an easier way of saying follow your dreams. I like this setup. You know what? I mostly like it because it's so different. I would recommend a small mouse pad for your mouse, but other than that, I mean, it's a nice, cozy setup. I would say 7 out of 10. Hey, here's another seal of approval setup. This one was actually more recent. This is Mike's setup from episode 319, I believe. This guy shocked us all with his 3D modeled and custom setup. I mean, the attention to detail, the dedication that went into the setup was absolutely inspiring. You guys have to check out the video if you missed it. It's hands down one of the best setups I've seen so far. Definitely worthy of being on this list. 10 out of 10 for me, easy. Okay, this one looks very similar to the other one we literally just checked out, although I have to say this one looks way more cluttered to a point where it's just too much going on for my taste. It feels like someone had a bunch of little knickknacks laying around and they decided to cram it all on their desk space. That's what it feels like to me. The microphone is in an awkward spot, half the desk lamp is hanging off the monitorizer. I mean, it's just too much. I can see how this is cozy and comfortable for a lot of people, and I don't mean to bring you guys down by any means. I mean, everyone has their preference, obviously, but for me, I'm not feeling it, to be honest. I think the other setup should have been ranked higher than this. This is a 5 out of 10 for me. Oh, this setup's actually pretty cool. It looks like we have a quad monitor layout with dual systems. It looks like a streaming setup. Oh, there's another setup in the back. It looks like a racing sim setup, judging by the chair, but let me see if I can find another angle of this. Okay, yeah, it's definitely a racing sim setup. That's actually pretty sick. I'm digging it. As far as your main setup is concerned, I'm not a fan of the monitor placement. It's a bit wonky for me. I love keeping things centered and symmetrical, as do a lot of people. So the top monitor and the left vertical monitor throws off the balance of this setup. Also, for some odd reason, the extra long wrist rest bothers me. Why is it so long? Also, there's just way too much extra mousepad space on the left side. There is one thing for sure. He is pretty much set for winter. My guy doesn't need to turn on the heater in this room. The setup will do it for him. 7 out of 10 for me. Okay, forget about the NASA setup we looked at earlier, boys and girls. That does not even come remotely close to Winter Sprinkle's setup. So apparently he's a technical media producer at a local TV station, and this is the setup he uses to coordinate local newscasts. If one person is in charge of this setup, then I am extremely impressed. There is no way one person with 2 eyeballs can navigate through this sea of monitors. I would lose my mind if I was there. Like, my head would probably explode. Can you imagine scanning through each monitor constantly over the course of 8 hours? I don't know how long his shift is, but I mean, this has to be a multi-person setup, right? If I had to guess, at least 3 people use this setup. But if any of you guys work at a TV station, correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section below, please. I'm dying to know. But for the most part, it's actually very organized. I'm very impressed that they were able to keep it this clean, judging by how many freaking monitors there are. It certainly lacks personality, but then again, it is a news station. But other than that, it's not bad. It's a 6 out of 10 for me. Oh, I love what this person did with his bedroom closet. Oh, that's so cool. He removed the doors and he converted that entire area into his workspace. You know, I see a lot of these on setup wars, but this one has the best execution, hands down. I can't tell if that's just wallpaper or if he added panels, but it complements the space very well. And the fact that he continued the hardwood flooring and the molding into the closet space just adds to the overall look. Like, he made this space look so natural, as if it's an extension of his bedroom, and that's what's so impressive about this setup. It's functional, it's classy, it's got a bit of personality with excellent cable management. You can definitely tell a lot of thought and planning went into this setup. It's an easy 10 out of 10 for me. Excellent use of space, well done. This next setup is a straight up vibe. My man's got more custom keyboards than I have GPUs. It's definitely a nice thing to showcase, you know, especially when it's something you worked really hard towards. I know they ain't cheap, so it probably took you some time to save up and build these over the past few years. The setup itself, it's badass. I love the monitor layout. Both are mounted to the desk. We got a light bar up top, PC in the corner. I mean, everything looks to be organized quite well on the desk. Not much else really to talk about. It's a pretty badass setup. It's a 9 out of 10 for me. Why? Why? Apparently 6 monitor setups are more common than I thought. However, I have to give it to this guy for actually combining them together. Look at how much better this looks without any nasty gaps between all the monitors. And also very clever on what you did with the wallpaper. He inverted the bottom ones so it looks symmetrical to the top ones. I gotta give you some points for that one. Judging by the joysticks on the table, this appears to be another flight sim setup. I don't even know if that's possible to combine 6 monitors like that for a flight sim game. Is that even possible? If so, that is one hell of an immersive experience if you ask me. Everything else in the setup pales in comparison to the Hexa displays, and honestly, it's a bit underwhelming when you take away the monitors. My man's using a cheap $15 boom on, for Christ's sake. Like, where is the balance in this setup? It's a 6 out of 10. This setup looks familiar. It was on a Setup Wars episode, but I can't remember which one. I know this because of the crate on the wall. I can't forget that. Apparently, a single 49-inch ultra-wide isn't enough for this guy. He had to sandwich it by 2 more vertical monitors. But you know what? I love the aesthetic of this setup. It's nicely balanced. It's got a lot of really cool collectibles that make this setup stand out compared to everything else. This is an easy 9 out of 10 for me. Damn, this is quite the flight sim setup, you guys. Notice there's so many flight sim setups here on the Battlestations subreddit. There's a lot going on here. I mean, my man is decked out with a massive TV and a 27-inch vertical mode for multitasking. There are as many buttons and knobs here than there are in an actual cockpit. Look at how many macros this guy has on 2 separate Elgato Stream Decks. 3 separate Elgato Stream Decks, actually. Damn, you flight sim people really go all out for your setups. That's admirable. It's also nicely organized. I mean, I can't find anything wrong with this setup, to be honest. It's a 9 out of 10. This setup is freaking clean. I love the cozy vibes. Everything from the furniture choices to the wood countertop and the decor on the wall. It was nicely put together. Nothing really sticks out. And that's how you know the person has really good taste in decor. The art panels on the wall kind of bother me because they are not symmetrical in design, but other than that, it's a very clean setup. I do love the color of the wall. It adds a nice contrast to the rest of the setup, and I can guarantee you that this setup wouldn't look as good with a white wall. The tiny PC is also a nice touch, and it balances with the Xbox console on the other side, but where is the side panel, my guy? I'm not sure why it's removed and the guts are spilling out. It kind of ruins the whole sophisticated and minimal vibes he was going for, but it's a very minor thing. Also, one thing that grinds my gears is when people put their chair right smack in the center of their setup. Why do you guys do that? Like, I'd rather have no chair in the frame than have a chair that blocks off a chunk of the setup, but that's just me. 8 out of 10. This is both the coolest setup and the dumbest setup I've seen at the same time. So many stupid choices that went into this setup, but the view though, that's a $100 view right there. You definitely can't get any closer to nature than this. But what about rain, or bugs, or wind? Certainly Mother Nature has something to say about this setup. I mean, it's cool, don't get me wrong. I just don't know how practical it really is. Not to mention, you have no mouse pad, you have no mouse. Cable management is looking like my pubes during the pandemic. Nothing here makes sense, and I feel like this was done just for the attention. And it sure as hell worked because it got 5.5K likes. This is a 4 out of 10 for me. I don't know why this setup looks so familiar. I'm pretty sure I saw this on Setup Wars also. Only because I remember the side floating table and the custom shelves with the collectibles and mangas. It looks like the exact same setup with the same gear too. Triple monitors, custom PC in the corner, nanoleaf panels. The only thing that kind of sticks out to me, and I think I also mentioned this in the video, was that one center pole. I feel like it could have been pushed more towards the back, considering that's where the monitors are mounted. So that's where most of the weight of the desk is. Being right there in the middle, you're forced to put your legs around it, and it just feels awkward to have a pole between your crotch. But other than that, it's a spectacular setup, no doubt. Easy 9 out of 10. Yo, I finally found Elon Musk's setup from Mars. This one doesn't even have a roof. All jokes aside, I do love the custom work that went into the setup. It looks very sci-fi and futuristic, and I'm all about those vibes. I do love the glossy tabletop, the wall-mounted PC, the star ceiling. It really helps tie the whole theme of the room together. But what's with the drawer underneath the tabletop? Doesn't that get in the way of your legs when you're sitting? That looks very uncomfortable if I'm being honest. But you know what? I would love to see more angles of this setup. I'm very fascinated with this whole room. So Golden Sun from Reddit, if you're watching this video, I invite you to come on Setup Wars. There's a link to a video where you can watch to learn how to enter. But yeah, this is an 8 out of 10 for me. Very nice. Okay, I feel like now we're getting into the crazy setups. These all have 5.7K votes or higher. So there's gonna be some juicy ones in here. I love the look and design of this setup a lot. The floating drawers with the RGB lighting look freaking cool, and the whole brick wallpaper adds a nice backdrop for the entire setup. See how the chair is pushed over to the side? Like, this is how people should post their setup pics on here. I'm just saying. I'm not a big fan of how the middle monitor is higher than the other two and how far the speakers are spaced out. I feel like you should at least angle them towards you, but other than that, I love the setup. I do. The lanterns on the wall are a very clever addition and complement the brick wallpaper very nicely. This is one aesthetically pleasing setup to look like, and I would love to see this on Setup Wars as well. So if you're watching, please send in a submission. This is a 9 out of 10 for me. Okay, I take back what I just said about the crazy setups. I think we're taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back here. What the hell am I even looking at? This is like those pod gaming setups, but on a super tight budget. My man built the monitor mounts out of these rustic pipes and some pieces of wood. You know what? That's actually pretty clever, but I don't know how I feel about this setup itself. It definitely looks like a cozy setup, no doubt. That angle of the chair looks very comfortable. I'm afraid I'll never leave once I sit there, but you know, just for the creativity, I will give this a 7 out of 10. Minimalism to the max. This one is a one and done kind of setup. All you really need is a single ultra-wide monitor. Forget about the multi-monitor setups, forget about the extra gear. That's all you really need for a fully functioning setup. But imagine if the monitor was mounted on the wall and you don't see the arm. That would have looked way cleaner, I'm just saying. But yeah, nothing really exciting or unique about the setup. It's just super clean, super minimal. It is an 8 out of 10 for me, and I'm losing my voice already, goddamn. Okay, this one's an interesting loft bed setup. I would assume the top area has a bed of some sort, but the setup itself doesn't really complement the space. It looks like a cabin, judging by the wood materials and the outside, but the setup sticks out way too much, especially with a black and red gaming chair. Why? You could have gone with a nice wood countertop, you know, maybe even speakers with wood accents like the edifiers. So much wasted opportunity here. I feel like this setup could have been so much better, but instead it falls short. Okay, so I did some digging and here are the actual pictures of the entire place. Just like I mentioned earlier, it is a cabin in the middle of the woods, which is like the perfect setting for a cozy theme setup. This looks nothing like that. You know whose setup would be perfect here? Sprite setup. It's got the vibes. The fact that this got almost 6K votes and is ranked higher than the other setups we've seen is mind-boggling. Like, this is a 3 out of 10 for me. Such wasted opportunity, to be honest. Ladies and gentlemen, I thought I've seen it all, but damn, this just keeps on getting better and better. I legit thought he had an amazing view outside of his backyard, but it turns out he's got 4 ultra-wide monitors. Yes, that is not a typo. We got 2 stacked ultra-wides with 2 more ultra-wides in vertical mode, because why the hell not? I don't know what makes me more mad. The cringy mousepad or the ancient desk that looks like it's about to fall apart. Surely if you spend $4,000 on monitors, you could afford a better desk. This is a prime example of someone mixing new with old, something I highly advise against. I would have gotten a better desk first before hooking up those expensive displays. The mousepad doesn't even look like it belongs there. Did you take that from a 12-year-old's Fortnite setup? I do, however, have the perfect mousepad for you. Either Forest or UFO will fit perfectly with the theme. If you want one for free, hit me up on my Discord server, but the setup itself is a 4 out of 10. It's purely for show. Oh, this setup is very creative. I'm a huge fan of Portal. I love the Portal mirror. That's very clever, actually. Adding RGB lighting behind the mirror gives it a Portal look. And after that, it's just a matter of finding the right angle to get that infinity look. I love it. The rest of the setup matches the theme very nicely. Really nice execution on the setup. It's a 9 out of 10 simply because of the creativity. Talk about a view. Wow. This setup's view is everything. I didn't even pay attention to the setup. The view was what got my attention first. I feel like you can put a Hot Wheels setup in front of these windows and it will look amazing. But the fact that the setup also looks so damn good just amplifies the presentation that much more. I really hope there are some curtains hidden somewhere because the sun glare can get kind of annoying really fast. But yeah, fantastic setup, no doubt. 9 out of 10 for me. All right. I gotta give my boy Savannah a feature. I believe this is the second and updated setup that he sent over for Setup Wars, but he is planning on redoing it a third time, so looking forward to that submission, my guy. I mean, what can I say? I really like the vibes of this one. It's calming, it's easy on the eyes, and the fact that the dogs match the color scheme was a nice little bonus. This one's a 9 out of 10 for me. I recognize this setup from anywhere. This is my boy 5% Gamer setup. He was featured a while back on Setup Wars. I can't remember which episode, but I absolutely love the creativity that went into this setup, from the mix of acoustic panels and the RGB lighting. I've seen a ton of acoustic panel designs on the show. I'm sure a lot of you guys have as well. But this guy took it to the next level completely. He made something that not only looks amazing, but also complements the space. Something that isn't easily done. One of my favorite setups in 2022, no doubt. 9 out of 10. Damn, these racing sim setups are getting at hand. And I thought I've seen the craziest one yet, but god damn, this one's absolutely decked out. Apparently he dropped $7,000 on everything minus the software. I don't know how expensive the software is, but that is one hell of an expensive setup. I don't even see the PC anywhere. I'm curious where he mounted it. If I had to guess, it's probably off to the left side where it's out of frame, or on the right side behind the seat. But damn, that's sick. That's sick. This is making me want to build a racing sim setup. This is a 9 out of 10 for me. So this setup I've seen many times on Instagram, scrolling through the reels. It's such an eye candy setup. I mean, the execution on this is spectacular. I absolutely love what he did with the Nanolith panels. He added 2 separate kits and he split them using a wall shelf. So it gives off this illusion of continuity. The color scheme, the choice of gear, the symmetry, I mean, everything works so well together. It's such a jaw-dropping setup. I would love to get more angles of this setup. So for Ziku, I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name. If you're watching this video, please toss an application to Setup Wars, man. I'm sure a lot of us watching this video would like to see more of this setup. This is an easy 10 out of 10 for me. Probably even seal worthy, to be honest. Let's go. I know that setup. I know it. It belongs to a very handsome man. I'm just kidding. I'm honestly surprised that this setup even got to the front page of Reddit, while only being 75% complete. This was before I added the Nanolith lines and I flipped the top ultra wide upside down, and it still got nearly 8,000 votes. I could only imagine how many votes my current setup will get once I post it in 2023. I'm just waiting to upgrade my PC with a 4090 and then I can submit the pictures, but I'm going for 10,000 votes and I hope you guys can help me out once it's uploaded. But yeah, my rating for this setup is an 8 out of 10. It could use some personality. What in the Frankenstein of setups is going on here? I think the title of this post really sums up what went on here. This setup is a concoction of 9+ years of lurking and writing down ideas and just throwing it all on the same desk. This is the most extraordinary and eccentric setup I've ever seen, and I didn't think you put those two words together in the same sentence. There's a lot going on. I feel like this setup is trying to be a lot of things and only succeeding at a few. It doesn't have any laser mice. It looks like he's using those weird trackball type mice, which tells me it's probably used for a specific profession where a traditional laser mouse is not efficient. Oh wait, he does have a regular mouse, it looks like. Okay, so he's got options. There's an Elgato Stream Deck flipped over to its side. His custom PC is tucked away behind him, and for some reason he has 3 custom keyboards sitting on cake trays. I mean, yeah, hey, if it's functional for you, which it does look like it is, then good for you. I bet this setup has a ton of synergy because of the way the gear is laid out, but aesthetically, it's all over the place. And for that, I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. Okay, I recognize the setup too. It belongs to my boy Ryan from PC Battlestations. I love the look of this setup, if I'm being honest. I think he did a fantastic job on the accent wall in the back. There's just something about black walls that just works so well for some reason, especially if you're going with a lighter color in the front. The contrast you get from that is just, it's gorgeous. These accent walls are becoming very popular in the setup field. I'm starting to see them pop out everywhere. I'm actually very interested in doing one myself for my wife's setup with like with a gray color scheme, but we'll see how that turns out. This is a very easy 10 out of 10 for me. Finally, we are seeing some wall-mounted PCs. I thought I was the only one here. So this one looks like a custom frame that was made by Misfit himself, and he designed it so it matches the desk. I mean, I do love the rustic pipes that he used to give a bit of an industrial look and the custom sensor panel he added, but I feel like he should have gone hardline with black satin tubes and maybe a symmetrical design. I've never seen a custom loop with 2 radiators side by side. It's still a badass setup though. I'm gonna give this one a 7 out of 10. I'm guessing the only reason why this setup got 8.4K votes was not because of the setup itself or the picture quality, but because of the barn door mod on the TV. The fact that he's able to slide the TV over to his racing sim setup is pretty damn creative. This also saved him a lot of money in having to buy a second display, so that mod itself is pretty cool, but the setup itself is atrocious. It's a 6 out of 10. I like this closet setup a lot actually. It looks more complete. You can tell the owner put in a lot of effort making this space his by decorating the walls with like various keyboards and other collectibles. The fact that he was able to fit in a fully functional setup in such a tight space while also personalizing it is very impressive and not easy to pull off. My main question though is how hot does it get in there? Because closets don't have vents, right? So I'm curious where all the hot air escapes to. Unless you live in Iceland or Alaska, I would imagine the heat would be an issue at some point, but it is a badass setup nonetheless, and it's an easy 9 out of 10 for me. Okay, I can see why this one got so many votes, but I don't agree with it because of the execution. For starters, the RGB cloud thing is super cool, I approve. The downside to that are bugs and spiders. They love making beds in cotton, so that's something you have to watch out for, especially if you're not doing any maintenance to it. And I think the RGB application is super dope, by the way. But the setup itself is where I have some questions. The floating shelf all around the wall was a very good idea, but why did you use black brackets instead of white? The white ones would have blended in with the wall a lot better. The acoustic panels on the wall really don't do anything. I've had them before, they're super thin, they do absolutely nothing in terms of sound treating, so they're mostly used for aesthetics. But the design that you have on the wall is very basic. It doesn't really complement the rest of the setup at all. In fact, the bottom half of the setup looks way better than the top. This is starting to sound like a Setup Wars episode, so I'm just gonna end it there. But yeah, it's a very cool concept, but I feel like you could have executed it a lot better. It's a 6 out of 10 for me. Okay, this next setup got 16.4K votes, and I can honestly see why. He's got a massive TV sandwiched by 3 ultrawides. I've never seen this layout before, so the shock factor is there. I think the bottom one is a super ultrawide, but it's a flat panel instead of a curved, which makes sense. You know, I would love to see what the people who called me out on my bottom monitor being at a weird angle think about this. All of a sudden, it's not so weird now, is it? This setup is so massive, he's got 2 monitor light bars up top to compensate for the extra length. Low-key though, the bottom monitor would be perfect for a taskbar. It's just a shame that it's not touchscreen, otherwise that would be perfect. But when you take a step back and really look at it, the rest of the setup is a bit underwhelming when you take away the monitors. I mean, this dude is using an Omen pre-built PC, which is one of the worst pre-built PCs you can buy. It's worse than Alienware. I have to give this a 6 out of 10. And finally, the moment we've all been waiting for, the setup with the most votes of 2022. Yep, it looks about right. I'm not even mad. I'm not. Like, this is the best FAP session setup I have ever seen. There's nothing that's gonna top this. You just gotta invest into some Windex and paper towels because you're gonna need it after every session. Functionality wise, I mean, Yeah, it's there. You got your main TV for coding and your secondary TV in vertical mode for multitasking. It's a really good display layout, if I'm being honest. I just don't like the chair. It's too low to the ground. Like, what are you doing with your knees? Are you sitting crisscross or your legs straight out? I'm confused. I also love the side tables that you have for your keyboard and mouse, but I don't think they're big enough. You barely have enough space for your mouse. I would invest into a gigantic food tray if one exists. That way you have plenty of space for both your keyboard and mouse and any other crap you want to use with your setup. But I mean, this is a 6 out of 10 for a regular setup, but a 10 out of 10 for a FAP setup. All right, those are all the best setups for 2022. If you guys enjoyed this video and want me to do these quarterly or bi-weekly, let me know in the comment section down below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon in the next one.